Again, I came in for chickens and I think I've regained my life back. I was not taking care of myself. I was not really taking care of my family as I wanted to. I can no longer do this. And my job was no longer fulfilling. My 4-year-old was the most skeptical person of them all. Mom, why are you making granola? You buy that at the store. When you went over the garden, I said, oh my God, this is why some of the plants are dying. I started finding that whatever I bought in the supermarket was disgusting. You've been a blessing and an unexpected one.
Hi, I'm Jessica. I'm a mother of 5, a nurse, and a lifelong nurturer with a soul rooted in both healing and heritage. I now teach others how to build from-scratch pantries, make nourishing meals, build an herbal apothecary, raise chickens, detox their homes, and live natural rhythms of health. My work blends timeless wisdom with spiritual depth, reminding us that the path to healing often begins not in a prescription bottle, but in a warm kitchen, a quiet prayer, and the courage to live differently.
I'm Maria Jesus Hernandez. I am from the Dominican Republic. I'm half Dominican and half Spanish. My husband's half Swiss. I was a banker for 22 years. I used to run the Latin America Financial Institutions Division. So I ran 20 countries. That was my last post. And I did that for 3 years. And I decided last year that I had to retire because my family needed me. I felt in my heart that God had given me that role and He had enabled me to be extremely successful, that role was done. I didn't want the next job. I wanted to make sure that I was taking care of my primary stewardship, which was my family. And I had realized that what I was doing was no longer fulfilling me and that I couldn't give 100% to that and 100% to my family. So I retired August last year. I took some time to slow down and just recover. One of the reasons that I decided to retire was that I did an exercise on my values. I actually had a gentleman have me write them down. And it was in corporate training. And when I did that, I said, okay, I can no longer do this. It's not aligned with my foundations, which is excellence. I push everything to the limit. And that's my nature, and it's the core of all my values. And my primary value is moral beauty. And what's in between? In between is my well-being, my family, and that whatever I'm doing is intellectually stimulating, so that I'm learning something. That in and of itself brings me joy and it makes me feel fulfilled. And I know I'm in right standing with God. So not everyone agrees with that, but those are my values. And at that moment, when I did that exercise, I realized that I was not taking care of myself. I was not really taking care of my family as I wanted to, and my job was no longer fulfilling. It was big, but I wasn't getting anything new out of it. And I could have kept on doing it in a mediocre fashion, but remember what I just said about my pillar of excellence? It wasn't there. So I decided to retire, and I had started a garden a few months before. And, I kind of started investing more in the garden, and I started eating my herbs. And when I did that, I started finding that whatever I bought in the supermarket was disgusting.
Yes.
Just felt disgusting. I didn't know why. And in the middle of that, I meet this man who runs a model organic garden, and he uses the manure from cows and horses and a whole bunch of animals near the farmer's market, and he runs this herb garden. And we become friends and we start talking. And in the middle of all that, I say I want my chickens, and everyone starts telling me I'm crazy. And one of the friends I had met after I retired, her family was into chickens, like slaughterhouses. And she sends me over to a gentleman that really doesn't help me much for a class that lasted 5 minutes. And they tell me that the feed has a name called layer in Spanish. And I said, I don't know what that is, but that doesn't sound healthy. And then I call my vet, and my vet starts crying, and she tells me she's so excited I'm getting chickens, and I start asking her questions, and she does not respond in a clear manner. And remember the excellence piece? I am a nerd. So I start like Googling things, and suddenly you come up into my feed. And I said, oh, look, this lady's gonna give us a class on, how to raise chickens. This is my gal. I had taken another class online after the pandemic, and I said, this was a ton of fun. I was the only foreigner. I might as well learn something. So I come across you. And you say you want to interview me. And I said, why does she want to interview me? I just want chickens. She signed me up. I'll take the class and, we'll all go on our merry way. And I said, oh, this is interesting. You interview me. When you interview me, you ask for my credit card. I'm a banker. Of course, I say I'm not going to give you my credit card. Your course was significantly more expensive than the other course I had taken. And it was a beta round. So I said to myself, I don't even know if she's going to really come up with a material. So I'll take the payment plan and we'll see where it goes. Some friends start making fun of me because, again, my mom is telling me I'm crazy that I want chickens, but her mom had chickens. But she tells me I'm crazy. So does my aunt. And my husband makes fun of me. So everyone's making fun of me. But I genuinely feel disgusted by the chickens. Like there's something inside me that's telling me this is wrong. So we start off. Again, I came in for chickens, and I think I've regained my life back.
Oh.
So it's funny. You've been a blessing and an unexpected one. And that's why I said, I think this course is great. I think the material you have should be out there for a lot of people to gain from it. I've learned a ton. I know I've asked a ton of questions, but that's just my nature. I like learning new things. And I find that you're very well prepared and you're giving your heart to it, and you can tell. I tell people that I'm not in an age where I would have traveled with people I met online. I'm not this generation. I grew up analog. And at one moment I said, you know what? I'm going on this trip. I told my trainer, listen, I don't know if these people are crazy, but I'm sure I speak bad Italian. If I have to run away, I will get just make sure I'm strong enough to fight them. Because I enjoyed the course so much that I really wanted to spend time with you. Yep. And then when we actually were in Italy, one of the first days I said, why do I feel so giddy? I'm really enjoying this. And it's because we were so like-minded. So it felt like camp. I felt like a kid again. Like my life was being restored in a different way that I hadn't really thought of. I really, really did enjoy that. And when I look back at our time in Italy, I think the very best meal we had was the one we prepared as a team. Not the ones I had at the fancy Michelin star restaurant. That was probably the worst. Not the ones that they prepared elaborately in the inn. They were very good, but the one we prepared as a group, you could taste the love in the food. And I found it fascinating that everything paired very well, even though we had not aligned. I felt like our spirits were aligned.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I made new friends, and it was a ton of fun. And I was able to slow down. I've been extremely efficient, organized for the last 25 years. Very driven. I've gotten things done, but I felt like I had forgotten a piece of myself. And I found that. I had my herb garden because I had always wanted an herb garden. And when we used to live in an apartment, my plants would die. Like all my plants died. But we moved into the house and I had this little garden close to my kitchen. So I said, this is the perfect place to put in my herbs. And I had some herbs that did very well. And then I had other herbs that died. I didn't know why. One would flourish and one didn't. That first section, when you went over the garden, I said, oh my God, this is why some of the plants are dying. Yeah. Duh, there's like a science to this. We started, there's a gentleman that helps me in the garden. And I'm like, we're doing it all wrong. So I start planning the garden. You send us the links. I realize how ignorant I am in the garden. I didn't even know what the tools you were supposed to use. I just figured like you dig up a hole in the ground and you just put your seeds or your plant in. And now we have a luscious garden. I have tomatoes. I took the pictures this morning for you to see, to post. I have tomatoes, I have peppers, I have flowers, I have a ton of butterflies, I have bees. I have lettuce, I have spinach, I have onions, I have everything. We're not fully eating from the garden, but I think this week all the greens we'll consume from my nuclear family will be from our garden, and they're healthy. And then you've given us these tips throughout the last few months, like how to get rid of the slugs, which were eating my greens, and we've stopped using the chemicals that weren't available, and suddenly now they're available, and I don't want to use it.
Yes.
Now I'm giving tips to the organic herb garden guy that sells me plants at the nursery.
That's
So
amazing.
it's been incredible. It's also been incredible to taste the difference between your greens and the ones you buy at the supermarket. Regardless of them saying they're organic, they do not taste the same. You can feel the difference in the nutrients.
Hmm.
So that's been a journey in and of itself. So then my kitchen journey, I've always cooked. I've taken a ton of lessons. I was actually reflecting the other day, and I would have probably loved to have gone to culinary school. So in my house, we cook. However, after I had my kids, I wasn't actively cooking. And after the first session of the pantry, I was horrified with what I learned. Because I came into this course completely naked in knowledge. I was completely ignorant. I thought I was doing a good job eating fairly healthy, and then I see how contaminated our food is. And when I start checking what my kids are eating, I was actually ashamed of what my kids were eating. I had to apologize to God when I'm like, I'm being irresponsible. So we started cooking at home. I didn't calculate the full toxicity of my household because I felt overwhelmed just by the thought of it.
Right.
So I took all your recommended staples, I organized them and put them on a calendar and gave myself a goal of implementing 3 at a time. My family is extremely pleased. My husband says the granola you taught us is the best granola in the world. We only eat homemade bread now. I make cookies for my kids, so that's what's in their lunch boxes. And yesterday night we had a guest come in to stay with us, and I was baking cookies for school because my kids, like my preteen, offers my cookies as a class provision for class parties, and which is great that your kids want to just eat your food. And my guest came in and he says, this house smells like Christmas. And it's because the air was flooded with fresh baked goods. So it's been a journey, but it's been great. And I also like what has come out of this cooking and from the garden, because suddenly I send my friends bouquets of basil, and my friends say it's like the most wonderful bouquet they would get. Some of them laugh and say, if my husband knew how much more I like your bouquets than his. It's been beautiful to see the community that you get around actual cooking and sharing what you have in the garden. I also like that cooking piece has been something of the things I found have fully grounded me. I find that I wake up extra early so that I can be in the kitchen and having no one bother me, and just focus on what I'm doing. If I'm kneading the dough or if I'm mixing things, I like that piece and how using my hands grounds me.
And I remember you saying your kids how much they loved the bread. They were super skeptical of all these new, recipes you were bringing into the home, but then now they're hooked, right? Like
they're hooked. They're hooked, and they tell people that our food's the best. My little one, if you thought I was skeptical, my little one, my 4-year-old, was the most skeptical person of them all. At the beginning, he said, Mom, why are you making granola? And why are you making cookies? You buy that at the store. And he scolded me. And after he had the bread, he was sold.
Yeah.
And from the bread, we went to the ice cream. My husband took over the ice cream production. So it's been great on how it's united us as a family, because suddenly everyone has like their own role, and we all opine and we all taste the different ice creams. And we decide if we like this ingredient more or not. So it's been an interesting journey.
That's amazing.
Our kitchen, I think, has been detoxed of all commercial chemicals. We're still working on the pesticides. So going back to your good, better, best, what can we achieve and what can we do now? I think it's given me the opportunity to reflect of where I am and what are the steps I need to take. And it's been a journey. It's been progressive. It's been great to have people that have different opinions on different things. But it's also good to have people that serve as lampposts, and they shine a light in a different direction you hadn't seen. So my health markers were not bad. Everything was relatively within range. And thank God I'm healthy according to the traditional medicine standards. However, during this journey, I discovered that my gut was out of balance, and reflecting on the medicine I've taken over the years and the food I've had and the stress I've put myself into and the amount of coffee I've had, even though I've always taken care of myself, my gut was destroyed. Over the last 2 months, I've been working on how to improve my gut. Improving my gut has improved my sleep. Improving my sleep has enabled me to be more aware of my emotions and how I react. Because I found myself that I was getting irritated by some of my basic home surroundings, and I find that that had a lot to do with my nervous system, and my nervous system was being fed by my gut. But then on a spiritual level, it's been such a blessing to see things, to see how simple it is to plant a seed and then suddenly see it sprout, to see how much, even if you want to hurry things in the garden, you can't.
Mm-hmm.
And then understanding God's word from a different lens. I tell people that everyone knows about the parable of the seed and the sower, and that there's 4 different types of soil, and how it all plays out. It's a very basic foundational scripture, but you rarely see it come to life. And doing that has been very fulfilling. So it's, as I said at the beginning of this session, it's been an unexpected blessing. I came in for chickens and I've left with all these other things.
Thank you so much for taking time to do this, and also, most importantly, for joining my program and coming to Italy. And I hope that you'll come to another retreat just so I can see your beautiful face.
More than happy to help.